Hello there, you're watching Al24 Midnight News coming to you live from Algiers, and to the headlines. President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, carried out a large ministerial reshuffle marked by the appointment of 11 new ministers. And with presidency still, Algerian President Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune received the chairwoman of the Federal Assembly of the Russian Federation, bearing an official invitation to the Russian Federation by Vladimir Putin. The Spanish court rejects a case of Morocco that brought against a Spanish journalist who said the kingdom spied on him using the Pegasus software. After the newly signed deal between Saudi Arabia and Iran to resume ties, United Nations Yemen mediator urged warring parties on Yemen to seize the opportunity and end the conflict. Hello again and welcome. The President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, carried out on Thursday a large ministerial reshuffle. The announcement was made by the official spokesperson for the Presidency of the Republic, Mr. Samir Agoun. The ministerial reshuffle was marked by the appointment of 10 new ministers, in addition to the appointment of Abdelaziz Khalif as Minister of State, advisor to the President of the Republic. And let's have a look at the newly appointed ministers in this report. Within the same topic, the government reshuffle carried out on Thursday by Algerian President Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune concerned strategic sectors, and it is aimed at consolidating the gains the country achieved more than 3 years ago at diplomatic and economic levels. Mohamed Khatou.
The partial government reshuffle that the President of the Republic has undertaken is characterized by a forward-looking view on a situation marked by many geopolitical fluctuations and complex international circumstances that require more vigilance, coordination, and strengthening of state institutions with names and figures that keep pace with the upward path that the country has witnessed over the last 3 years. In order to be in line with the diplomatic activity witnessed by Algeria in recent times and to restore its pioneering role recognized regionally and internationally, it was necessary to strengthen the Algerian diplomatic apparatus with a personality that supported Algeria in its darkest circumstances. Ahmed Attaf, the new Minister of Foreign Affairs, will face several challenges, foremost of which is the strengthening of Algeria's firm international positions and its unconditional support of just causes in the world, deriving its principles from a history full of diplomatic achievements and balanced positions. The reshuffle made by Algerian President Abdelmajid Tebboune also aims to strengthen the executive apparatus with Algeria's ambassador and permanent representative to the United Nations, Mohamed Nadir Al-Arbawi, who held many positions in the foreign ministry and in the Algerian diplomatic corps before knocking on the doors of the United Nations bodies and making Algeria's voice loudly heard. The partial government reshuffle did not overlook the financial and economic portfolios, with the appointment of Aziz Fayed as the head of the Ministry of Finance after holding the position of General Director of the Budget for years. He is now faced with the task of preserving the financial gains and enhancing the positive indicators achieved by the Algerian economy. Given that Algeria has adopted an economic outlook aimed at promoting its exports and diversifying its sources of income, the government reshuffle reached the trade portfolio by appointing Tayyip Zitouni as trade minister and entrusting him with reflecting Algeria's vision and signing several cooperation, partnership and exchange agreements while preserving the social character of the state and enhancing the purchasing power of the Algerian citizen.
On Thursday, Algerian President Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune received the chairwoman of the Federal Assembly of the Russian Federation, Valentina Matvienko, who transmitted the President Tebboune a message from the Russian president bearing an official invitation to the Russian Federation. Algerian presidency statement indicated that the meeting was attended by Salah Goujil, Algerian National Assembly Speaker, Abdelaziz Khalif, Algerian Presidency Director, as well as Algerian Minister of Foreign Affairs, Secretary General Ammar Billani, along with Russian Federation Ambassador to Algeria, Valerian Shuavov.
I held lengthy and detailed talks with Mr. President, and this is a great honor for me because he found an opportunity in his agenda to discuss current issues in the Russian-Algerian bilateral relations. We also discussed in detail a number of international and regional issues. Mr. President knows the details of bilateral relations and files for cooperation in various fields, and has a special vision of what is happening in the world. I also conveyed to Mr. President a message from the Russian President, a substantive message that contains an invitation to pay an official visit to the Russian Federation and an invitation to participate in the Russia-Africa Second Summit.
The chairwoman also praised the independent positions taken by Algeria on international issues and its attachment to objectivity as a member state of the non-aligned movement, and assured Russia's desire to expand cooperation with Algeria in various fields.
Algeria is a reliable and a very important partner on the African continent. We have extensive cooperation in the field of trade and institutions. I express my gratitude to Mr. President for Algeria's balanced and independent stance on regional and international events, and Algeria's adherence to good relations with the Russian Federation. I was very happy to hear from the President that Russia is a great friend of Algeria. It is necessary to maintain this relationship. We have good opportunities to expand cooperation between us in various fields of energy, transportation, education and culture. We carry out various projects for mutual benefit.
On the sideline of her visit, Valentina Matvienko also declared the support of the Russian Federation for Algeria's ambition to join the BRICS.
The Russian-Algerian relationship plays a major role in the stability and balance of the global energy market, and we cooperate intensively within the framework of the OPEC Plus group and the gas-exporting countries. We support in Russia Algeria's accession to the BRICS group.
Prime Minister Ayman bin Abdulrahman has advocated the creation of a startup ecosystem to develop all economic sectors, particularly agriculture, underscoring the state's determination to achieve self-sufficiency in durum wheat. Speaking at the opening of Forum on Food Security in durum wheat, Prime Minister called on economic operators to adopt a new procedure embedded in the investment law.
The cereal industry, notably durum wheat, has achieved good results over the last years. Nonetheless, we have to shift towards intensifying and valorizing production and endeavoring to increase productivity while making modern investments in order to reduce imports and achieve self-sufficiency in this product.
Also, Prime Minister Ayman bin Abdulrahman called on investors to create a homogeneous ecosystem of economic operators, activating the value chain, especially in agriculture sector.
The goal is to move from the slogan phase to the field application phase, and you are essential actors to lay the foundations through the creation of a homogeneous ecosystem of economic operators active in the value chain through the adoption of a new process instilled by the new law on investment that elaborates new texts in favor of investment, in particular in the structured agricultural sector in the south of the country.
متنوعة للاستثمار نذكر منها فرص الاستثمار الفلاحي المهيكل في جنوب البلاد.
In a different matter now, the Spanish court rejects a case that Morocco brought against a Spanish journalist who said the kingdom spied on him using the Pegasus software. The court said the charges were valid in a move that adds to troubles of Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez because more and more state institutions are rejecting him, from lawmakers now to judges.
The statements made by Ignacio Sombrero in interviews came as a result of the publication of a press investigation by an international group about people who were subjected to spying through the Pegasus software, and they are justified by the seriousness of the facts that led to the opening of a criminal investigation. Because of all this, Morocco's request is rejected, and the decision imposes litigation costs on the kingdom.
And from Morocco to Libya, the head of the Libyan National Unity Government, Abdelmajid Dbeiba, said Wednesday that stability in Libya and Niger and the elimination of irregular migration are achieved through economic cooperation and support for investment programs between the two sides, accompanied by officials to participate in the opening of the exhibition Made in Libya. The two sides discussed a number of security files related to the stability of the Libyan south and the regulation of borders in coordination with a number of friendly countries. Meanwhile, the Nigerian president affirmed his support for the efforts led by UN envoy in Libya, Abdoulaye Batili, the government of unity patriotism, to achieve stability in the country and lead it to elections. Secretary of State Antony Blinken announced on Thursday $150 million in new humanitarian assistance for Africa's Sahel region, saying it would provide life-saving support to refugees and others impacted by conflict and food insecurity. Making the announcement during a visit to Niger, Blinken said the aid would address needs in Niger, Burkina Faso, Chad, Mali, and Mauritania. The package also includes funding to support Sahelian refugees in Libya and Niger.
Today, I announced nearly $150 million in new humanitarian assistance to help meet needs in West and Central Africa and the Sahel created by regional instability. That assistance will support the provision of shelter, essential health care, emergency food, safe drinking water, sanitation, hygiene services, and will also support vulnerable refugees and asylum seekers evacuated to Niger. And I have to say, the generosity of Niger, of its people, to so many refugees, so many displaced persons, is remarkable. We're committed to continuing to invest in the resilience of democracies to a wide range of threats and challenges, from corruption to disinformation. And we continue to support a free and independent press, as we have done in Niger for decades.
The authorities in Bamako, who are in charge during this period, said that they will show the draft of the new constitution to the political parties in Mali next Monday. According to a statement by the official spokesman for the Malian government, Abdoulaye Maiga, that Assimi Goïta, who is leading Mali during this period, will show the new project to political parties and groups from society next Monday, and an important step within the changes that the Malian government started. Still in the African continent, local and security forces reported that 18 civilians, including 2 members of the army's auxiliary forces, were killed in 3 attacks by suspected terrorists in the central northern Burkina Faso. Terrorist group attacked the village of Taoubine in central east. On the same day, 2 other attacks took place in Lorum province north, according to local sources. In the Middle East now, Palestinians, including a child, were killed and others in critical cases were wounded Thursday by the Zionist occupation forces during the storming of the city of Jenin and its camp. According to Palestinian Ministry of Health, the Palestinian news agency said that a special force from the occupation army infiltrated the city, exactly Abu Bakr Street, and killed 3 Palestinians.
The special forces arrived here. They, the 2 of the 4 who were killed, came via Abu Bakr Road, and they arrived here in the middle of the streets in 2 kinds of vehicles, Skoda and Jet. They opened the doors and one of them shot Nidal Khazim in his head. Nidal became martyrs here and he fell here.
Now, a breakthrough in the relations between Iran and Saudi Arabia could pave the way for ending the war in Yemen. The UN envoy for Yemen says there is a renewed momentum for peace and urged the parties to take decisive steps to end the conflict. Hussein Burkan.
The war in Yemen has been raging for 6 years, leaving millions of people on the brink of famine and facing a humanitarian catastrophe. But a recent diplomatic deal between Iran and Saudi Arabia, the main backers of the warring sides, could change the course of the conflict. The 2 regional rivals announced on Friday that they had agreed to restore diplomatic ties after 4 days of secret talks in Beijing, mediated by China. This could create a new dynamic for ending the war in Yemen, where a Saudi-led coalition has been fighting against Iran-backed Houthi rebels who control most of the north.
Intense diplomatic efforts are ongoing at different levels to bring the conflict in Yemen to an end. We are currently witnessing renewed regional diplomatic momentum, as well as a step change in the scope and depth of the discussions. I welcome the continued efforts of regional member states, in particular the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the Sultanate of Oman, and ask the parties to seize the opportunities created by the regional momentum.
The deal between Iran and Saudi Arabia also comes amid efforts by U.S. President Joe Biden to revive nuclear talks with Tehran and end U.S. support for offensive operations by Saudi Arabia in Yemen. The U.S. has welcomed the rapprochement between its allies and adversaries as a positive step for regional stability and security. However, many challenges remain for achieving peace in Yemen. The Houthis have intensified their attacks on Saudi territory and rejected previous UN proposals for nationwide ceasefire and political talks. The internationally recognized government of Yemen has accused them of undermining peace efforts and violating human rights.
Allow me to also take this opportunity to welcome the recent agreement between Saudi Arabia and Iran to resume diplomatic ties, which was facilitated by the People's Republic of China. This dialogue and good neighborly relations are important for the region and for Yemen.
The war in Yemen has killed more than 230,000 people, displaced over 4 million, and pushed 80% of its population into need of humanitarian aid. The UN says it is one of its worst humanitarian crises, but with the new diplomatic openings, there may be hope for an end of this tragedy.
Sport now. Gianni Infantino will serve a 2nd term as FIFA president of the International Federation of Football Association after being re-elected and challenged to lead the global football body for another 4 years from 2023 to 2027 during the 73rd FIFA Congress in Kigali, Rwanda. And just after being re-elected for the 2nd time in a row, the Swiss Infantino said being FIFA president is an incredible honor, an incredible privilege, and it is also a great responsibility.
For many other reasons, and also on this, we are promising you new record revenues for the next 4-year cycle of $11 billion. So from 6.4, which became 7.5 in the last cycle, we go to $11 billion. And actually, the new Club World Cup is even not included in that. So I think this figure will increase still by at least a couple of billions.
Now, the newcomer to the Algerian national team, Hussam Awar, spoke of his pride in choosing to represent his country in the upcoming games and national competitions. Let's hear it.
Everyone knows that I am partly French, being born and raised there, but the big part of me is Algerian, and this is something I grew up with at home. Everything went on as normal, I was spending my vacation in Algeria, and then I received a call from the president of the Algerian Football Federation, Jahid Svizev. A call through which the president of the FAF expressed his desire and the desire of the national coach to make me join the Algerian national team. Honestly speaking, this is what I've always wanted. The national team means a lot to me, and frankly, I regretted choosing the French national team earlier. I felt many times that I did not make the right choice. The national team represents a lot to me and to my family in general.
Still in sports, but this time in judo, the international judo tournament Algeria 2023 kicked off at the Olympic Complex Hall Mohamed Boudiaf, where Algeria will be represented by 55 male and female wrestlers, according to the final list announced by the organizing committee. In addition to Algeria, which is strongly present in this competitive event, taking into consideration the number of the athletes taking part in this event, the international participation is also considered through the presence of 95 foreign wrestlers representing 13 countries, which confirmed their participation in this competition scheduled for one day. And that's all what we have for now so far. For more updates, you can follow our social media platform. And at the end, all I can say, good night and have a blessed Friday.